The night air in Charlotte carried a humid weight, the kind that made even the stars look tired. Daniel Whitaker sat in his black Ford truck in the driveway, the engine long killed, his hands gripping the steering wheel as if it might keep him from unraveling. Inside the two-story colonial home at the end of the cul-de-sac, the faint yellow glow of the kitchen light pulsed like a heartbeat. He should have gone in hours ago. He should have been sleeping. But lately, sleep had become a stranger. It wasn't one thing, it was everything. The late-night phone buzzing. The way Emma's laughter, once so free, had become forced, brittle, as if rehearsed for someone else's ears. The perfume he smelled on her blouse last week, an expensive brand he hadn't bought. Small details that stacked, crooked and sharp, forming a structure that could only be called suspicion. Daniel finally pushed the door open, the creak of metal groaning in the still night. The cool air slapped him awake as he stepped out. He walked slowly to the front door, the familiar squeak of the wooden steps under his boots grounding him in a house that didn't feel like home anymore. Inside, Emma sat at the kitchen table, her head bent over her phone, thumbs moving quick, deliberate. She didn't notice him right away. Or maybe she did and didn't care. "You're up late," Daniel said, his voice steady, though his chest felt tight. Emma startled, then smiled, too quickly. "I couldn't sleep. Just scrolling." She turned the phone face down. "Always face down." Daniel nodded, walking past her to the sink, filling a glass with water he didn't want. He studied her reflection in the window. Her hair was tied up loosely, framing a face he used to know better than his own. Tonight it looked like a mask. The cracks. Charlotte life had always been good to them, or at least good enough. Daniel was 38, a contractor with his own small but steady business. Emma, 35, taught art at a local middle school. They had been married 12 years, shared a golden retriever named Max, and were known in their neighborhood as that perfect couple. The ones who hosted barbecues, waved at neighbors from the porch, smiled in grocery store aisles. But perfection, Daniel was learning, was fragile. It began with the excuses. Late grading nights. Girls' wine night, twice a week. Yoga classes that left her coming home flushed, glowing, almost guilty looking. Then the new lingerie tags he found buried in the trash, nothing she wore for him. One evening, while folding laundry, Daniel picked up her blouse and caught a scent that didn't belong in their house, musky cologne, bold and masculine. He held the fabric to his face like evidence in a courtroom, his throat burning. He didn't say anything that night. Instead, he watched. He waited. The unraveling. One Saturday morning, Emma announced she was going shopping with her friend, Kara. Daniel smiled, kissed her forehead, and offered to pick up takeout for dinner. She left in a rush, her phone clutched like a lifeline. But Kara's husband, Tom, called later, asking Daniel if Emma was still at their place. "Kara's been sick all morning," Tom explained. "She hasn't left the house." Daniel's stomach turned cold. He lied smoothly, said Emma must have gotten her plans mixed up. After hanging up, he sat in silence, Max resting his head on Daniel's lap, sensing the storm in his owner's chest. That evening, when Emma returned, cheeks flushed, hair tousled, Daniel played his part. He asked how Kara was doing. Emma blinked, too long, and said, "Better. We had a good day." That was the first lie he could prove. The discovery. Suspicion wasn't enough. Daniel needed truth. So he started checking. Phone records. Credit card bills. He wasn't proud of it, but pride was a luxury for men who weren't being played for fools. Then came the nail, a hotel charge downtown, charged on a weekday afternoon. Emma's lunch break. The next day, Daniel followed her. He parked across the street from a small boutique hotel, the kind that charged by the hour more than the night. He watched Emma pull in, her car slipping into a space like a guilty whisper. Minutes later, another car arrived. A man in his 40s, tall, broad-shouldered, in a sharp suit. Daniel recognized him, Andrew Clark. The school's assistant principal. Daniel's chest hollowed out. His breath felt like broken glass. From his truck, he watched Emma laugh as Andrew touched her arm, guiding her into the hotel. She looked 20 again, carefree, alive, in love. A woman Daniel hadn't seen in years, and not with him. The confrontation. That night, Daniel sat across from Emma at the dinner table, the silence louder than Max's paws tapping against the floor. He studied her, the way she avoided his eyes, the way she chewed too fast, her fork clinking nervously against the plate. Finally, he spoke. "I drove past the Hyatt today." Emma froze. Her fork hovered midair. "Oh. I saw Andrew." He let the name hang between them like a guillotine. "With you." Emma's face drained of color. For a moment, Daniel thought she'd deny it. But instead, she set her fork down slowly, carefully, like a surgeon placing a scalpel. "I didn't want you to find out like this," she whispered. His hands clenched under the table. "How should I have found out, Emma? A note? A lawyer?" Tears welled in her eyes. "It wasn't supposed to happen. I felt invisible, Daniel. You work so much." We stopped, talking. Andrew listened. Daniel laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. "So you fucked him because he listened?" Emma flinched. "Please don't." "No, let's be honest," Daniel snapped, his voice rising. "You let him touch what's mine. You let him in our bed when I was out breaking my back to give us this life." She shook her head fiercely. "Never in our bed. I wouldn't." "As if that makes it better." The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. Emma wept quietly. Daniel stared at her, his wife, a stranger, the woman who had promised forever. The revenge. Divorce was inevitable. Papers filed, lawyers called. Friends whispered. Charlotte, with all its bustling nightlife and southern charm, suddenly felt like a cage filled with pitying eyes. But Daniel wasn't done. Revenge wasn't about rage, it was about precision. He hired a private investigator. Photos of Emma and Andrew filled a folder, hand-holding, kissing, sneaking into hotels. He mailed copies to the school board. Andrew was placed on administrative leave within a week. Emma's job survived, but her reputation didn't. Parents whispered. Colleagues distanced themselves. The art teacher with the scandal. At the divorce hearing, Daniel's lawyer slid the folder across the table. Emma crumbled, tears streaking her face as Andrew sat 2 rows back, avoiding her gaze. The judge ruled swiftly, Daniel kept the house. Full custody of Mac's financial compensation from Emma. When it was over, Daniel walked out into the Carolina sun, papers in hand, feeling lighter than he had in years. Broken, yes. Scarred, absolutely. But free. The aftermath. Nights were still long. The bed still felt too big. Sometimes he dreamed of her laugh, her touch, her lies. But every morning he woke up, brewed his coffee, and looked out over Charlotte's skyline, reminding himself that betrayal had not ended him. It had forged him. And somewhere across the city, Emma lived in the ruins of choices she could never take back.